Have you ever stood at a crossroads in your life and asked yourself, what now? Have you ever felt completely lost, not because of what others did to you, but because you no longer recognized yourself? Have you ever worked so hard to be seen, heard, valued, only to wonder, in a quiet moment of exhaustion, whether you're really living your truth? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is not about fixing yourself. It's not about adding more knowledge, more methods, more goals. Today is about remembering, not learning who you are, but remembering who you have always been, underneath the layers of fear, shame, confusion, and performance. Today, we'll explore the concept of your true natures, what Buddhist teachings call Tathagatika, or the suckness of your being. This is not some mystical fantasy. It's the silent, spacious awareness behind every thought, behind every identity, behind every reaction, and it's been there, always. You might think, I'm too broken, I've made too many mistakes, I'm not spiritual enough. But that's like a muddy river claiming it doesn't contain clear water just because it's clouded at the moment. Your true nature hasn't been lost, it's just been obscured. Think of a mirror. Dusty mirror doesn't lose its ability to reflect, simply needs to be cleaned. But what if, instead of frantically scrubbing away every speck of dust, you simply stopped identifying with the dust? What if you let the dust fall where it may and began to observe the mirror, the space, the stillness behind it? This shift is what we call inner seeing, or self-reflection, and not introspection as in overthinking, but a deep, silent presence that notices the mind without becoming its noise. You stop asking, what's wrong with me, and start asking, who is the one noticing this thought? Let me tell you the story of Maya, young woman who seemed to have everything. Intelligence, charm, a promising career. Yet inside, he was crumbling. Every achievement felt hollow. Every relationship felt fragile. He had spent years building a perfect image, only to find herself haunted by anxiety and self-doubt. One day, in the quiet of her apartment, he broke down. There was no dramatic event, no major failure, just a sudden awareness that he was tired of pretending. That's when she stumbled upon the words of a Buddhist teacher: what you seek is not outside of you. What you fear has no real form. What you are is already whole. Those words stopped her, not because they solved her problems, but because they pointed to something deeper. The idea that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't broken. Maybe her thoughts weren't the full story. Maybe her emotions weren't her enemy. He began to sit quietly for 10 minutes a day, not to stop thinking, not to control her mind, but simply to observe. First, her thoughts were loud and chaotic, but slowly, he began to see patterns: her craving for approval, her fear of failure, her belief that he wasn't enough unless he was perfect. Beneath those patterns, a quietness, space, presence that didn't judge her, that didn't need her to change, that just was. That presence is what this video is about. That presence is your true nature. It's not something you earn. It's not something you achieve through spiritual effort. It's already here, but it can only be known through direct experience, through looking inward instead of outward, through sitting with your messiness instead of fixing it, through listening without agenda, through feeling without resistance. What if I told you your greatest power is not in controlling your life, but in knowing yourself beyond all control? What if freedom isn't the absence of problems, but the absence of identification with them? What if the you that suffers isn't the real you? We spend our lives chasing what we already have: clarity, love, peace, worthiness, not because we're stupid, but because no one taught us how to look inward. You were taught to fix, to hustle, to optimize. You were taught to compare, to achieve, to become someone. But what if the deepest truth is that you are already someone real, someone whole, someone sacred? Not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. Let's go deeper. When you start practicing inner observation, you begin to see the mechanics of suffering. You notice how one insecure thought spirals into anxiety. You notice how one memory triggers a cascade of self-judgment. You notice how you cling to good moments and resist bad ones. Then, you notice the noticing. You realize that behind all the chaos, there is something stable, something spacious, something that was never touched by trauma, never stained by shame, never broken by failure. That is your true nature, and recognizing it is the beginning of true freedom. Doesn't mean your life becomes perfect, but it means you stop believing that imperfection is a problem. You stop fighting yourself, you start holding space, and from that space, transformation happens naturally. Not because you force it, but because truth always returns to itself when you stop blocking it. This is why some of the wisest people seem so calm, not because their lives are easy, but because they no longer cling to the storm. They let thoughts rise and pass. They let emotions be felt and released. They let life flow through them, not round them. And you can do this too. You don't have to move to a mountain. You don't have to give up your life. You don't have to become someone else. You only have to become intimate with your own experience, to become still enough to hear the whispers beneath the noise. And yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes practice. But every moment you return to presence, you water a seed. Every breath you observe consciously, you clear a little dust. Every time you meet your pain with compassion, you reclaim your power. So let me ask you, who are you when the noise stalks? Who are you before the name, the job, the trauma, the goals? Who are you right now, in this breath, in this silence? You are the awareness watching. You are the light behind the clouds. You are not the storm. You are the sky. And when you begin to live from this knowing, not just believe it, but embody it, your entire life begins to shift, not dramatically, but gently, deeply, irreversibly. You respond instead of react. You breathe instead of panic. You listen instead of argue. You love instead of protect. Not because you've changed, but because you've remembered. So stop searching, stop fixing, stop performing. Just come home. Thank you for watching this video. I'd love to hear your story. Have you ever touched that inner space of clarity? What helped you return to it? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel if you found value here. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, be true, and above all, be still enough to remember who you really are.
Before you leave, here's something special. In Buddhism, we believe that every encounter carries a deeper meaning. Would you like to discover your true soul connection, the one written into your destiny? Take the soulmate test today and unveil the hidden truths of your journey. Click the link below and begin your path now.
http://soulmate. You wisdom more, come, white.